This is real good content. We should actually just drop this. I don't give a.
All right, yeah. We here, y'all. Let's start with a little bit of music, as always. Remember back in the days when niggas had waves, Caselli shades and corn braids, pitching pennies, honeys had the high top jellies, shooting skelly, motherfuckers was all friendly, lounging at the barbecues, drinking brews with the neighborhood crews, hanging on the avenues. Turn your pages to 1993, niggas is getting smoked, G. Believe me, talk slick, you get your neck slit quick, cause real street niggas ain't having that shit. Toting text for rap, smoking blunts in the project hallway, shooting dice all day, waiting for niggas to step up on some fighting shit. We get hype and shit and start fighting shit, so step away with your fist fight ways, motherfucker. This ain't back in the days, but you don't hear me though. Back in the days, remember they used to talk, but not in class, right? Back in the days, remember they used to talk, but not in class, right? Back in the days, remember they used to talk, but not in class, right? Back in the days, remember they used to talk, but not in class. No more Coco Levio, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All of this to me is a mystery. I hear your motherfuckers talk about it, but I stay seeing bodies with the motherfucking chalk around it. And I'm down with the shit too. For the stupid motherfuckers wanna try to use Kung Fu. Instead of a Mac 10, he tried scrapping slugs in his back end. That's what the fuck happens when you sleep on the street. Little motherfuckers with heat wanna leave a nigga 6 feet deep. And we coming to the waist to make sure the crying and commotion ain't a motherfucking fake. Back in the days, our parents used to take care of us. Look at them now, they ain't fucking scared of us. Calling the city for help because they can't maintain. Damn shit done changed. Back in the days, Yep. Hey. Summer's here, y'all.
We like the breeze, flow straight out of our lids. Them, they got booed by these Harvard Brooklyn kids. Us floor rush when the DJ booming classics. You dig the crew on the fattest hip-hop record. He tucks the kinks and sinks into the sounds. She frequents deep, fatter joints called undergrounds. Our funk zooms like you hit the Mary Jane. They flock to booms, man, Boogie had to change. Who freaks the clips with mad amount percussion? Where kinky hair goes to unthought of dimensions. Why's it so fly? Cause hip-hop kept some drama. When Butterfly rocked the light blue suede Pumas. What by the cut? We push it off the corner. How was the buzz entire hip-hop era? Was fresh in fact since they started saying Audi. Cause funk's made fat from right beneath my hood. The prover of the styles like Miles and shit. Like 60s funky worms with waves and perms. Just sending junky rhythms right down your block. We beat to rap, what key beat to lock. But I'm cool like that. 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 I'm cool. I'm cool.
Alright, stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the umpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how I like to funk thee. And all the rappers in the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. I'm stepping tall, y'all, and just like Humpty Dumpty, you're gonna fall when the stereos pump me. I like to rhyme, I like my beats funky, I'm spunky. I like my oatmeal lumpy, I'm sick with this. Straight gangsta Mac. But sometimes I get ridiculous. I'll eat up all your crackers and your licorice. Oh, yo, fat girl, come here, are you ticklish? Yeah, I called you fat. Look at me, I'm skinny. It never stopped me from getting busy, I'm a freak. I like the girls with the boom. I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom.
Now in my younger days I used to sport a shag. When I went to school I carried lunch in a bag with the apple for my teacher, cause I knew I'd get a kiss. Always got mad when the class was dismissed, but when it was a session I always had a question. I would raise my hand to make a step up to my chest and help me with my problems. It was never much, just a trick to spell a hit and try to sneak a touch. Oh how I wish I could hold her hand and give her a hug. She was married to the man, he was a thug, his name was Lee. He drove a Z, he picked her up from school probably at 3 o'clock. I was on her jock, yes indeedy. I wrote graffiti on the bus. First I write her name, then carve a bus with my name last. On the looking glass, I seen her yesterday, but still I had to let her pass. Oh, yeah. Don't wanna be a player. I don't wanna be playing no more.
I'm not a player, I just crush a lot.
Punisher, still got what you're looking for.
From a thug.
I don't wanna be playing no more.
I'm not a player, I just crush a lot.
Fuck you, Reek. I'm not Puerto Rican. And I love you, pun.
Hey, yo, I'm still not a player, but you still a hater. Elevator to the top high. See you later, I'm gone. Penthouse suite, penthouse freaks, in-house beach, French couch seats, 10,000 east, rent out lease, with an option to buy. Copping a 5 or bench, and when I'm not, we're up in the sky, off in the lie, with my twincito, up in the Benzito, with my Kiko from Queens, nickname Redigo. We go back like DAs and wear PJs. Now we reach the B-gauge, running trains for 3 days. Who wanna ride? It won't cost you $1 with a sword for harder. Of course, you're still gonna holler, mama, I'm thick. I rip my through your hooters, I'm sick. You couldn't measure my with 6 rulers. Hold up, true lie, I'm all about getting loot, but I knock that boo if you out to get boo.
I don't wanna be playing no more.
I'm not a player, I just crush a lot.
Punisher, still got what you're looking for.
Uptown, baby. Uptown. Hey. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Hey. Woo. Ooh. Yes, y'all. Welcome all to episode number 72 of the What Are We Even Talking About podcast. As always, I am your host, Izzy. And today, I felt it fitting to just start with a little rap medley. I'm feeling good today, y'all. I really am. It's been a good week. Nice little weekend thus far. I'm recording this on Sunday. It's kind of my new thing. I feel like it's like a good way to kind of, get into the start of the week, right? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all are safe. Hope y'all mental health is all in check. I didn't know until this week that June is also men's mental health awareness month, which is dope. Is dope. I just think it's still super. I'm like fiddling with my mic now, trying to get the buzz out of my ear. I think it's dope that like there is a men's mental health awareness month, Because I still do feel like it is very taboo still for men to talk about their mental health. Still very taboo, still very, you got to be the macho guy and you don't talk about mental health or anything like that. So I'm happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Hope all my guys are taking care of their mental health. I can't say this enough. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy as a man. To be honest, I think most men, if not all, should spend at least a minimum of 5 hours of their lifetime with a therapist, just so you could get some sort of perspective of what's up with you, even if there's nothing up with you. All right, and if there's nothing up with you, yo, God bless you for that. That's a blessing. That's awesome. Before I get into the reason behind the medley, let's get into just local stuff. This weekend, PVD Fest is back. And so I went to PVD Fest Friday and Saturday. And I'll probably go out there again on Sunday, just get some more pictures and whatnot. It was weird to see that many people, but I also think it was pretty damn amazing to see that many people. Just kind of seeing Providence, just some level of normalcy, I think was really awesome. There was just so much love all throughout Providence. And it seemed really great. It was just really, really awesome. So much love throughout Providence. That's that's not on purpose. I'm wearing one of my PVD Love shirts right now. Shout out to Jared Winslow. And yeah, it was just really, really great. Saw a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time. Saw a lot of just great energy out there. Got to take my nephew out there. Took my son out there. It was just a good time. It was just a lot of great stuff, a lot of great energy. So, I mean, I thought that was really awesome. I really did. I really enjoyed it. It felt different for obvious reasons outside of just thinking of COVID and all that stuff. So you try your best to avoid the dense parts of the crowd. And there was, I don't remember there being that many stages in past years. I felt like there was at least like 5 stages downtown, all just different purposes, and it was insane to see just that many stages just riddled all through Westminster and Washington Street, which was really cool. But yeah, no, it was a really, really, really great time. I think I might have to hit that up for day 3 and just get some of the tail end of the festivities as well. So really, really, really cool, really cool. Let's get right into these topics. I'm doing well. I'm feeling well. Get right into the topics. The medley that I was starting with today was really just due in part thinking about the Rolling Stones magazine released a list of the 200 best hip hop albums of all time. And I mean, I don't know that so there are a couple of things about this list. First of all, I think any list of this nature will always be met with bad feedback, because it's hard to you just can't make these kind of lists and have it be like unanimous, like, oh yeah, that's the correct thing. I think it just goes for any sort of opinion based, this is what we think is. If you did a list of the top 100 or 200 best hip hop artists, the top 10 no one will agree on. No one will agree on who is in the top 10, who is in the top 5. You'll just never get a consensus. That's just the reality of it, right? So when you get into like the top 200, you're not going to get a consensus. I think what we saw here, though, was just like a unanimous just disgust from all lovers of hip hop, including myself. I thought this list was nasty. Number 1 on the list, let me just pull up just so we could get the essence of this. So, Rolling Stones, 200 greatest hip hop albums of all time. God, Astro World is 200. That is okay. So let's just get right into the top, the top 50, top 40. All right. So I'm gonna just count it down for y'all from like 20 down. We'll just do top 20. One thing that did offend me tremendously to boot is the fact that outside of the top 20, hold on, because it is a huge, all right. So I'm going to tell you 20 to 30 just so we can look at what are the albums that didn't even break into the top 20. So we got Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique album. We got Tupac, All Eyes on Me at 29. At 28, we have Mobb Deep, The Infamous. At 27, we have Outkast. I always forget how Aquemini. I always have a tough time pronouncing that one. 26, we have Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. 25, we have Eminem's The Marshall Mathers LP. 24, we have Nas, Illmatic. 23, we have UGK, Riding Dirty. 22, we have DMX's It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And then 21, which, I mean, to me, this kind of just invalidates the whole list in and of itself. But because this is not an album, this is a mixtape, we have Lil Wayne's The Drought 3. Amazing mixtape, but it's not an album. This is not an album. If this is an albums list and you gotta have albums, this is a mixtape, but I digress. That's the top 20. Now, you may be saying to yourself, damn, if Nas's Illmatic isn't in there, and I mean, many would say that that is Nas's best album, and DMX's It's Dark and Hell is Hot is not in there, many would say that that's DMX's best album. Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt isn't in there. I don't know that we would say that's definitely not Jay-Z's best album, but I mean, it's not in the top 20 though either. All right, and I'm only really shining a light on those because I want to just look at what it did make the top 20. And then Marshall Mathers LP is not in there. Many would say that is Eminem's best album. And also Mobb Deep's The Infamous, which is a classic album. What did make the top 20? Let's get into it. At 20, we have Future's Dirty Sprite 2. Dirty Sprite 2. We have Lil Kim's Hardcore album. We have Mad Villainy by MF Doom. We have Yeezus by Kanye West. Yeezus is on here. Not College Dropout or Graduation. We got Yeezus at number 17. At number 16, we have Cardi B, Invasion of Privacy. Cardi B, Invasion of Privacy at number 16 over all of those albums that I mentioned that are in the 20s, that didn't even break the top 20. Number 15, we have Eric B and Rakim, Paid in Full. We got at 14, Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele. We got at 13, Dr. Dre's 2001 album. We got Clips' Lord Willin'. I'm going to start going through these a little quicker. We got Drake's Take Care. Having Drake right ahead of Clips' album is hilarious. Y'all ain't low for that. Breaking into the top 10 now, we have Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. We have Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. amazing album. Love that album. We have the Wu-Tang Clan's Enter the Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers at number 8. Number 7, we have Missy Elliott's Miss E So Addictive. At number 6, we have Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. At number 5, we have Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. At number 4, we have Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. At number 3, we have Jay-Z's The Blueprint. Fitting spot, yes. Number 2, we have Outkast's Stankonia album. Great album. I don't know if I have it at number 2. And then number 1, we have Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die. This list is horrible for a lot of reasons. First off, Cardi B in the top 20 is fucking nuts over all those classic albums. That just doesn't make any sense to me. The Notorious B.I.G. at number 1 pick is like the safest pick that you can possibly do to try to say that this is the greatest rap album of hip hop album of all time. It's the safest pick. 100% the safe pick. Because it's like, well, who's gonna argue that? It's like, well, I mean, it would take a big hip hop head to argue that Notorious B.I.G. is number 1. I mean, it's an amazing album. I love that album. I don't know that I have that at number 1, but that's where, for me personally, I have Nas's Illmatic at number 1. So to see Nas's Illmatic not even in the top 20 of this list, but you got Cardi B in here, and you got Future ahead of it, and you got like all this other stuff ahead of it, is insane to me. So insane. You got Yeezus this high up. Insane to me. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say that Yeezus would go over College Dropout or Graduation or even The Life of Pablo in the Kanye discography. And I think this is where, like, culturally, we just got to remind ourselves, like, well, who the fuck wrote this? And we know for a fact it's like, then they put out the team who put this together, and it's like, yeah, there's no people of the culture that, I mean, at least by the way they look, it seems like it's just all, Rolling Stones writers. And it's just like, well, I mean, what can you expect from the Rolling Stones? What can you expect from the Rolling Stones trying to put together a hip hop list, which I think, honestly, it's something that is, I think it was done for clicks. I really think it was done for clicks, because I don't know the last time that everyone talked about the Rolling Stones magazine this much. I don't know the last time that it happened. It's not. So part of me does, like, my marketing brain does turn on and think, all right, well, this is definitely a marketing move to drive traffic, because it's got people talking even more than ever about some shit that people just haven't talked about in a long time. So, I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, whatever. The list was trash. It's a trash list. And I really hope that I just wish that they wouldn't leverage because I mean that it's obviously it's being done for nasty reasons. It's like, nah, y'all are only putting this list together because you want people, you're just trying to get the traffic. You're not really interested in hip hop culture, because if you were, there's no way this list would be the way this list is right now. There are obvious picks that are put into certain places for pure shock value, because I don't know that any listener of hip hop truly places Cardi B's album above that of DMX, Nas, and Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. There's no way. There's no way any real listener of hip hop. That's just not happening. It's not. So, total clickbait bullshit. And I mean, y'all have fun with that shit. Y'all have fun with it, for real. Because I mean, that shit was. I mean, it's just not good. It's just not good. Sticking to music, and I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this one. Just speaking of just things that are not good. Justin Bieber. Just prayers to Justin Bieber. I saw. So he posted a video. He canceled a lot of he canceled a bunch of shows, and where he has. I can't remember the name of the virus or syndrome or disease that he's currently ill with, but it causes facial paralysis. And I mean, I think if I would have just read it, I would have probably viewed it as just typical celebrity, like, over dramatization nonsense. But the fact that he did a video where you can see, like, nah, there's no way you can make your face do that. Like, your face is not designed to move that way. That's just not a thing that faces do. So to see that, it was, and also just to see him be that transparent about it. Wish him all the best. I mean, it was just very unfortunate. It's just very, very, very unfortunate. Wishing him all the best. Sticking to music and sticking to just more music related news. Nick Cannon announced that. Well, I mean, it's not that he announced it. I don't know if he said it in an interview or something along the lines of like, yo, he got more kids on the way. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nick Cannon has an absurd amount of children. I have heard him say in interviews that, like, you know, he feels like that's part of his purpose is to just like spread his seed as much as possible and leave a very strong imprint. Because I mean, that is kind of like how men used to think as it pertained to children. It's like, yo, like, you got to have as many kids as possible so that you're leaving your imprint on the world, as opposed to if you just have one child, then that's just one child that's carrying your lineage. It's like, no, you got to get out as many as you can. So he said he got more kids on the way. I laughed hysterically because in one of my Facebook groups, one of my boys, it might have been Dre, friend of the show. I think he might have said something to the effect of, "Yo, Nick Cannon is getting just full revenge after years of being told that he was corny and all of this stuff. Now the next generation has to deal with like 25 to 30 cannons." Because like, yo, we kept saying he was corny, and now he's like, yo, nope. Oh, y'all said I was corny? Bet. Y'all gonna see how corny I am. And now we got just non-stop cannons to deal with. So, shout out to Nick Cannon, I guess. Right? And then, what am I even talking about? Sticking to music. And this is something that I go very much back and forth in my thinking on this one, is the inclusion of rap lyrics into court proceedings. It's tough, it's nasty. This comes up mainly as we're looking at the YSL Rico case, as we're looking at just more and more rappers being incarcerated and their lyrics be entered as evidence. And not necessarily, and the thing about using rap lyrics is that it's not always that they're being used as evidence of the artist having done something. It's that they use the rap lyrics as evidence of just the artist's character in general. It's like if you're on trial, imagine you're on trial for some sort of heinous crime. I don't even want to allude to what kind of crime it would be, but just some sort of heinous crime, something nasty. And then they don't have full-blown evidence of you having done the heinous crime or something nasty, but they have a whole album and 2 mixtapes worth of content in which you are talking about doing heinous shit and being nasty. That only decreases the amount of like hard evidence that they need against you if you were to be really using that in court proceedings. And I think that's where it gets difficult. It's like that's where I think there's like this roundabout way that that lawmakers are kind of using to like target hip hop, because historically hip hop wasn't until maybe a little bit later where you started seeing more music and more raps coming from active participants. Oftentimes, it was always individuals speaking about stuff that they had to do previously or stuff that they witnessed. I think perfect examples of this are Nas and Jay-Z. Nas always rapped from the perspective of this is the stuff that I've witnessed living in this neighborhood. Never really saying, him being a participant or anything like that. It's like, no, these are just things that I've witnessed. And then Jay-Z would always rap about how he used to sell drugs. It's like, yeah, he sold drugs. But then he also did say in his music as well, like Hove did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. Essentially saying like, yo, like, yeah, I did this because drug dealing was always meant to be. It's like, yo, it's an end to a means to an end. It's not supposed to be like glamorized. Like, we're not doing this for glorious reasons. We're doing this because we out of options and we trying to figure some shit out. And I think over the years it just became more glamorized and more of like the cool thing to do. And now, we reached the point where artists were gaining popularity because people were just interested in the fact that it was them rapping about stuff that they were actively doing. Committing crimes, doing all this shit, which is crazy to me. So, I mean, I don't think that they should be able to use that as evidence because it's music. It's just words. There isn't, you're embellishing, you're exaggerating, you're doing all of those things to make for more compelling music, So I mean, that's kind of like, that's really where I stand. It's like, no, you shouldn't be able to use this because it isn't really any hard evidence. I don't know that rap lyrics can provide any real hard evidence, with the exception of if there's very tangible connections to very real events, which we have seen happen. We've seen that happen where it's like, no, like you very vividly like talked about some shit that like only someone who was there would know about. Y'all boys wild for that. Y'all are wild for that right there. Right? So, I just hope that the stories of because I feel like there's also just been an increase of stories of artists losing their lives. So I mean, I'm just hopeful that people like, yo, just be safe. Be safe out here. Everybody be safe. Be safe, be safe, be safe. I cannot say that shit enough. Be safe. And then sticking to music, holy shit, there are a lot of music topics. I think this is the last music topic. Let me see. Yes, this is the last music topic. Okay, perfect. So music, and this is just a very, very random piece of music that I was just like, I got to talk about this shit because it's easily the most, this is my random music story of the week. Twista rapper from Chicago, I believe. There was a video of Twista came out this past week. And it's Twista. They're like, oh yeah, Twista's a ventriloquist now. I was like, huh, that's fucking random. Let me click this. And it's Twista with a puppet. And he's like, yeah, he's a ventriloquist now. And I don't have too much to say about this other than the fact that, like, I don't know what's more random between the fact that Twista is a ventriloquist or the fact that Twista is like a really good ventriloquist. Like, this fucker is good. Like, yo, I was watching this video and I was like, holy shit, like, he's actually really good at this, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like, part of me now wants to see Twista do, like, perform the song Slow Jams with the, like, do his Slow Jams verse with, like, and have, like, the ventriloquist do Jamie Foxx and Kanye West parts. Or have him do, like, Overnight Celebrity. It's like, I just really need to see, like, a full, I'll watch a Twista show if it's him with a dummy, with a puppy, not a puppy, a puppet that he is, that he's just, like, using. I would watch that. Make that shit a versus. I need to, like, put, like, Twista and a puppet on a versus stage. That would get my view. I'd be fucking glued to that random shit right there, folks. I really would be. I really would be glued to it. Speaking of shit that I'm just, like, super glued to right now, and it's kind of just like my current obsession, I guess you can say, my current YouTube obsession. It's getting stronger as far as my obsession of this. So it's Chuck Nice, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's Star Talk. First it got me, it was on Facebook. Facebook's algorithm does a really great job as far as just, like, with the next video. As you're watching one video, they could get you down a really good rabbit hole. They're really good about this shit. So they got me with, like, the Star Talk shit, and then after a while, I started watching it on YouTube, and now I'm all in on it because I've always been fascinated with the answer of just why things are. Why things happen. Why things, like, I've always loved the answer to why. Because it's very in-depth. The answer to why is almost always the most, like, in-depth thing that's just fascinating to me. So listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson break down why water boils or why water freezes, or, you know, get into all of these things, and I'm just like, yo, this is so fascinating. And then next thing you know, I've, like, been watching this shit for, like, 4 hours, just down the rabbit hole of Star Talk. 4 hours of it, and now I'm, like, you know, thinking about, you know, are we living in a simulation and, like, all this shit. So Star Talk is it's really, I highly recommend it. If you've not ever watched Star Talk, I really do recommend you watch some Star Talk. Really do watch some Star Talk, people. And then, speaking of things worth watching, I saw the video, the trailer for the Martin reunion. Martin Lawrence's TV show, Martin. They had a reunion trailer. I will say Martin is easily, I think, could be one of the most, if not the most underrated black comedy of all time. So underrated. And there are people who rate it highly, but it's just like, no. But, like, you gotta really, like, really dig down and, like, give Martin its flowers for just how relevant it was to culture. Like, it doesn't get enough credit. It doesn't get enough love. It really should get, like, Fresh Prince levels of love. It should get that. And there's a couple of shows that I think fall under that same umbrella for me as far as just, like, very underrated black comedies. I think the Bernie Mac show is another one of those that falls into that realm. I think the Wayans brothers is another one that it doesn't get enough credit for just how great it is, how great it was, it still is. Yeah, doesn't get enough credit. Stop playing, yo. Give it the credit. Give it the credit it deserves, people. All right. A funny story that I saw. And this was something that I'm gonna put on my photographer hat for this one. So there was a story. It was this woman, and we see this happen on Facebook often, where it's just someone who goes and they're gonna like talk about this vendor that they hired and they weren't happy with the vendor or whatever, and they're just kind of gonna air their grievances online to discourage people from going to this vendor. And it was a woman who was putting this photographer on blast, right? And she was like, we went and we had them shoot our family shoot and like our engagement shoot, and they deliver, they went and they delivered the engagement photos. They were a little late with the delivery of the engagement photos, but that was okay. We were fine with that. And then we go and I get the photos, and the background was heavily distorted. Because now you see, I really want to find the shit now. Let me see. Shout out to Memes for Togs, by the way. It's a Facebook page that I follow, which is just all memes for photographers, which is just it's just so great, so great. So, the name of the photography company, which by the way has gotten an immense amount of traffic to them. They're based in New York, I believe. The name of the photography company is Clarence Simpson Photography, right? They were booked to do 3 photo shoots: family photos, engagement photos, and the wedding photos. The family photos and the engagement photos were done in one shoot. This is about like a month or so prior to the wedding. Yada yada yada, right? Everything that I've covered so far. So the customer, the patron, the lady, the Karen, goes on to say, after reviewing the photos, we were not happy with the amount of distortion in the background or foreground. We sent a message the same day asking if they could reduce the amount of distortion in the background of some of our photos so we could see and appreciate the scenery. We were told that the distortion in the photos was from the lenses that were used during the shoot and could not be reduced or changed. This was off-putting for us because every photographer that we used in the past could adjust the amount of distortion used in the background or foreground. This also defeated the purpose of picking a beautiful place to do our pictures because you can't see any of it. They go on to discuss, obviously, because they were like, oh, the customer saying, well, we don't want our wedding photos to look like this. So there was no communication. Pretty much shit fell apart. They did not shoot the wedding, right? They did not shoot the wedding. There was some, refunding or whatever the case was. The lady was upset that they still used the photos in their portfolio. And yeah, it was a whole shit show, right? So if you're someone who's not a photographer and you're just saying like, yeah, like that sounds horrible, like why would there be so much distortion and all this other shit? This is where I get annoyed as a photographer, and this is where a lot of photographers were fucking laughing at this woman. And this is where a lot of photographers were in support of the photographer, Clarence Simpson Photography. And by the way, the photos look great. These look like great photos. And I think the part that drives me crazy about it, first off, is not distortion. It's what's in the bokeh. That's what you hire professional photographers for, is for them to go and it's not about the scenery, or else you would just get a whole bunch of landscape shots where you can't see you and your family and your fiance. That's different. And I think the part that bugs me is because I've been in this situation, and I think a lot of photographers have been in this kind of situation where you're dealing with someone who doesn't know what they're asking for and is unwilling to be led towards what it is that they want, because they want what they want and they are just unwilling to be led towards what it is that they want. Because if the photographer would have just done exactly what they said, like, oh no, I want no distortion in the background. First off, yeah, you can't. The only way that you can adjust the distortion is if you were shooting this on a phone, because phones have smaller sensors. That background blur that you get in portrait mode is completely artificial. That's not real. That's not a real depth of field that you're getting like what you're getting with a camera, right? Pretty sure the background behind me might be a little bit distorted. That comes from that just comes from, yeah, you're shooting at a real lower aperture, or a wider aperture. It's a wider aperture. Know what you're asking for when you're trying to hire people. And if you don't know what you're asking for, then explain what it is that you want and be led, and allow yourself to be led there, because it'll end better for everyone if you just did it that way. It really would. So yeah. I'm so glad that everyone very much just jumped on them, I guess you can say, and just really, because I mean, you try to go out of your way to try to bury this company because you didn't know your ass from your elbow. Yeah. So, love to see it. Speaking of things, love to see. Wanted to get into the Michael B. Jordan, Lori Harvey breakup. And I mean, originally I wasn't even gonna talk about this because I mean, it's just a breakup. It happens all the time. People break up. That's part of just what happens, right? I don't know that I foresaw it like just bringing on so much as it did. A lot of people are talking about, well, you know, because the issue that came up as it pertains to this breakup was that Michael B. Jordan, he's in his mid-30s, Lori Harvey in her mid-20s, I believe she's 25. Michael B. Jordan wanted something long-term. He wanted, like, marriage. He's like, yep, like, I want marriage. I'm ready to settle down. I want this. She said, nah, I don't want anything long-term. I don't want a marriage. Totally her right to not want marriage. Makes sense that he does want marriage, right? There's a lot of back and forth about, like, you know, what, like, people are saying, you know, like, well, like, people was trying to take sides, people siding with Michael B. Jordan. I've seen a lot of women side with Lori Harvey, saying that, you know, that she can't be humbled, and, you know, that that y'all, that men need to just get over it and whatever. And my take on it is this. And the only reason why I mention this is that I just think that the biggest thing that needs to happen with people is that everyone is entitled to make their own decisions, right? No one is wrong for the decisions that they make with their lives. If Lori Harvey is saying, "Yo, I don't want to get married right now," right? Because I think honestly, this to me, it made me completely think of like Kevin Samuels and everything that he spoke about. It's like, yeah, you don't want to get married right now. Your 20s are for you. Okay, cool. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The parts about it that are important though is that you just have to, whenever you make any decisions in life, you just got to take what comes with those decisions. You got to take what are the ramifications of those decisions, much like any man has to accept the ramifications of whatever decisions he makes in life. Michael B. Jordan, yes, he's in his 30s. He's probably, he's had fun all through his 20s. Yeah, he wants to get married. He wants the foundation and all of the stuff that comes in marriage. I completely understand that. I want marriage as well. That's something that I'm working towards in my life. I get that. I get that part of it. And so it's totally understandable. I don't know that you can fault someone for wanting one over the other. I think that what happens is that, well, you just can't get upset with the outcomes. See, you have a right, everyone has a right to decisions. You don't have a right to outcomes. And I think that's like the fundamental issue, is that oftentimes, not saying Lori Harvey, now I'm speaking generally. Generally, what happens is that what we see is all of the, hot girl summering, and what you're seeing kind of going, what you see perpetuated on social media is women go out, do your hot girl summer for all of your 20s, and then you can find the kind and caliber of man that you want in your life when you get into your 30s. And you'll find them at the same rate and at the same likelihood as you were able to find them when you were in your 20s. And that's really just not how the world works. That's not, I understand wanting, and that's where it's like, yeah, you could want something, but you're not entitled to the outcome of that. Because you now need to be what is wanted by the type of individual that you want. And I think that's where things get lost when it comes to these conversations, right? Women in particular love to accept the validation of men who they accept the validation of men who they perceive to be beneath what it is that they'd want from a man. They accept the validation from men who they would not date. Accept the validation from men who they would not marry should that man offer to take their hand in marriage. They wouldn't accept it. So they'll go and say, I'm this kind of a woman. I'm all of these things because all of these men here say so. So why can't I find a man? It's like, all right, well, if this is the kind of man that you want, then the validation of the men that you don't want shouldn't matter to you. You should only care about trying to get the validation from the kind of man you do want. So what you should be doing is seeing, well, why is it that the kind of man that I want doesn't view me in that same light? maybe I got to do some self-reflection. That's hard. That's hard, because then because then at that point you now need to look at it against your own ego. You got to put your pride to the side. And that's where women start saying the term like, oh, I'm not going to act like a pick me. I'm not going to, what? Me settle for a man? All this other bullshit that is, it's nonsense. People, it's nonsense. If you want something, if you want a certain kind of person, it's because for me, I think it's just very simple logic. You want a certain type of person, you need to be what that kind of person would want. That's it. You need to be able to bring enough to, because again, it's that mentality of just like, what? Me bring something to the table? I am the table. Cool, copy. You have fun with that. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Because it's like, you can be all that, but the kind and caliber of man that you might be looking for doesn't have to put up with that. You don't got to deal with that shit. So you can sit here and continue to like receive validation from other women and men that you don't want, and then get upset when the men that you do want are off dating other women. And you're just like, and then, because then the other thing happens too, and this is, I think, the last thing that I'll talk about with this, is women oftentimes disqualify men who are not interested in them. It's very similar to something that men do. Very similar to the thing that very petty and small men do when they try to catcall at a woman and the woman denies them, and then they resort to insulting the woman. So, hey, yo, ma, what's up? And she will roll her eyes, keep walking, and then you go, man, that's why you ugly anyway. You a fool for that, bro. You a fool for that. But women do that shit too. Women do it too. They're just not as they're not as stupid as men are when it comes to that kind of shit. But women do it. You'll see women go and say, like, you can ask, because you can ask them. You say, oh, well, they'll be like, oh, I like this kind of a man. All right, but what if that man doesn't like you because of A, B, C, X, Y, Z reasons? Oh, well, I don't need him anyway. I don't like him. It's the same thing. It's just not as abrasive, and it's not as ignorant as men do it. Because men are ignorant to shit. Something that I will say, and I'm gonna move on from, because I don't get into the relationship shit too much. But something that I do feel like more men need to do is more men need to go back and watch Kevin Samuels' catalog, but go back and just watch when he's talking to men. Because I think as much as I think there's definitely the narrative of, yo, we gotta, like, women, you gotta hold yourself to task, and we gotta, y'all gotta be better women if you want these kind of men. Men also gotta be better men. We gotta hold ourselves to task. And we gotta do what we can to be better men for women, and women gotta also do their part in being better women for the men. Because it's definitely not, like, I think there's definitely been a bit of a disconnect where people just started trying to live for just themselves and saying, well, like, why do I gotta be? It's like, no, well, your purpose needs to be the other one, and vice versa, so that y'all are building together. Wild thought, wild concept. I know. We're gonna get into some sports. First off, UFC. Was it 275? Let me see. I believe it was 275. Yes. UFC 275 was amazing. That was actually like a really, really good card across the board, top to bottom. I think the two. I just wanted to get into uh, the three last fights really. Whaley completely like demolished Joanna Shevchenko in their rematch. That was amazing. Second round knockout, spinning back fist, wild. Valentina Shevchenko retains. Honestly, I did not think it was by split decision, and I didn't think that Valentina was gonna beat um, Taylor Santos because Taylor Santos was like really rocking her shit. Like I thought it was gonna be a wrap. And then honestly, the one that I just wanted to get into really was just the main event: Glover Teixeira versus Prohaska, Jiri Prohaska, for the light heavyweight championship. Prohaska wins it, new champion, and honestly, I think this is gonna be declared the fight of the year. I really think it'll be labeled fight of the year because it was that good, top to bottom, back and forth. Like I really thought there was so many times where I thought either man was gonna win it. Prohaska won it by submission with literally 30 seconds left. That was not a fight that either of them could have afforded to go into the judges' hands because it was that close across the board. I don't know how you could have judged that. I'm almost certain that it would have been judged as a draw. Like I do feel that way. I feel like it would have been a draw by the time it was all said and done, and they would have just had to run it back. But Prohaska put a stop to that shit. 30 seconds left in the final round with a choke. So amazing shit. And then getting into the NBA Finals. NBA Finals currently tied 2-2. This has been a great finals so far, honestly. It's been a really great finals. We're down to the last 3 games. Game 5 is in, I believe it's in Golden State on Monday. And I got Boston winning that. I got Boston winning the next 2 to close this shit out 6 games. That's my prediction. They close it out by winning 2 straight. And it'll be done. And it'll just be done with. And then just getting into wrestling. This is going to be our last topic of the day. Just talking about some wrestling and more specifically talking about Cody Rhodes. Oh my God. So Cody Rhodes had a torn pectoral muscle, right? And he had this torn muscle, and honestly, I thought he was going to pull out of the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. When it was first announced, it's like, oh shit, yeah, no, Cody's out then. Like that's a torn pec. Like that's, yeah, he's out. Cody was not out. Cody wrestled the fucking match, and it was as dramatic and just visually, just the visual of Cody coming out. First off, Seth Rollins is amazing, wearing the Dusty Rhodes polka dots to the ring, just amazing. But then seeing Cody take his jacket off after his entrance, and you can just see the bruising. You can see the where the tear is, and it just looks gnarly. And I'm thinking, oh man, this might be a quick one. And mind you, this is the main event. There is no World Championship match because Roman Reigns is now ultra part-time. So this is the main event. It's not for the title. So it's like, well, let's see what they're going to deliver. And this is the only Hell in a Cell match on the card. Let's see what they're going to deliver with. And, yo, Cody and Seth Rollins put on what I think is probably match of the year in pro wrestling, across the board. Dave Meltzer, and I think so. This is what it is. I think the thing about this match is that it's been a long time since I've seen a match in WWE where the consensus across all boards is that this was a like 5-star perfect, like amazing match of the year. Like this is the one. Dave Meltzer gave it 5 stars. That hasn't happened in over 10 years. For like a main roster match, he's given 5 stars to like some NXT matches that are really great, but not a main roster match. I don't think not since Cena versus Punk at Money in the Bank, which I believe was 2011. So seeing that this match got 5 stars, amazing. It was just such an amazing match. Just so great. So great. So Cody Rhodes is now, obviously, because it was a legitimate, he won the match. And yeah, no, it's a legitimate tear. Like that's a real fucking injury. He wrestled through that injury for the sake of the fans, I guess you can say. And he then came out the following night on Raw, and Seth Rollins attacked him as like that'll be like the way that they kind of write him off the show, is like no, like he was injured, and then Seth Rollins further aggravated the injury by attacking him, right? So he's out to recover. He had surgery. He's now in recovery mode. I think what we're going to see is he'll be out and will return at the Royal Rumble. And then that's when we get the heroic, like, Cody Rhodes, road to WrestleMania to become the undisputed champion. And him, like, a Rhodes finally getting that crowning moment. Like, it's hard to not see that's what's gonna happen, and it'd be really hard for them to not give us that at this point. Especially after, like, if you go, months down the road, and I can see it being, it's Royal Rumble. Wouldn't be surprised if Seth Rollins comes out as number 1, and he's in the ring, and the crowd is going nuts, and all of this stuff, and then right there, number 2, Cody. And the music hits, and the crowd loses their minds. And he runs the table, wins the Royal Rumble. Like, come on. So, really, really amazing. Really, really amazing, honestly. There's a couple things there's a few things I'm gonna just keep kicking the can down the road. So I will be giving, probably in future episode, like a full breakdown of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and just kind of talking about all of the shows. Miss Marvel is out. I'm almost caught up on Hawkeye. I finally finished Moon Knight. So I'll get into that. I'll get into that maybe next week after I've watched Miss Marvel and have like finished Hawkeye, and I can kind of get into everything. And then I'll also get into the 20th anniversary of Cena. I believe Cena's returning either next week or the week after. I'll get into that then, just to kind of give that a little bit more time to marinate. I don't want to talk too much wrestling right now. With that being said, thank y'all. If you're hearing this right now, just know that I love you. I love you. Working on a lot of great things this summer. I have a lot of great ideas, a lot of just trying to connect a lot more with different creatives and work with different people a lot more this summer. So the goal is to just work on change and work on improvement. That's the overall goal, right? So as always, people, some ships float, some ships sink, but the best ships are friendships, and to those ships we drink. Cheers. All right, y'all. Peace, love, all the above. I'm out.